Hi, this is Nick Percival from the West Northants Pension Service, and welcome to video 2 in our new video series, Your Pension Journey. In this video, we'll be thinking about interacting with your pension throughout your career to help ensure you can have the lifestyle you would like when you retire. If you're at the start of your career and haven't watched it already, I recommend you go back and watch video 1 in this series first. When talking to people approaching retirement, a common thing we hear is that they wish they'd paid more attention to their pension earlier in their career. The majority of people only start really thinking about their pension in their last few years before retiring, by which point it can often be too late to make the most of some of the flexibilities the local government pension scheme offers. In this video, I'm going to show you that your pension isn't just for retirement by talking about some examples of life events you might experience throughout your career and what things you might want to think about or actions you may need to take when they do. I appreciate that your pension won't always be the first thing on your mind when these events occur, but understanding the options available and thinking about them earlier in your career will give you a better chance of having the lifestyle you would like in your retirement. There's nothing worse than getting to that stage and finding you can't have that lifestyle because you didn't take advantage of the options available to you earlier on. I appreciate the examples won't apply to everyone, but hopefully they'll give you some idea of the kind of changes that might prompt you to look at your pension. So for example, you might be getting married, entering into a civil partnership, buying your first home, or you might even be starting to think about having a family. With each of these events, you might find that you need to tighten your belt or build up a large amount of savings. You might have bills to pay that you didn't have before, or you might even be finding things more difficult due to rising prices. In these situations, people often think about taking a break from paying into their pension as they think, well, I'll have plenty of time to catch up later on. But we all know that once you have that extra money in your paycheck, it can be hard to then lose it again. Instead of opting out of the scheme completely, you might want to consider the 50-50 section. If you opt out of the scheme completely, you would lose some important protections for you and your family if something were to happen to you, and we'll talk about those protections shortly. With the 50-50 option, you pay half the contributions in return for half the usual pension build-up for that period. You can move between the main and 50-50 sections of the scheme as suits your needs, and it's really easy to do so. There's a one-page form you'll need to fill out and pass to your employer or payroll department as needed. Some other action you might need or want to take in these situations is if your personal or contact details are changing. You'll want to log into your online pension account and make sure those details are up to date, particularly your address if you move or the people you've nominated to receive a lump sum payment if you were to pass away. Whilst logged into your online pension account, it would also be worth using our pension calculators to check that you're saving enough for the kind of retirement you want. If you haven't used your pension account before, you might want to check out video 4 in this series. So those were all examples of things that might happen in your personal life that might lead you to thinking about tightening your belt, and that might make you react in the short term. However, there might also be examples where things change and where you're starting to think ahead. For example, if you want to pay more into your pension to make sure you can retire when you would like to, and you can have the kind of lifestyle you want. If you get a promotion or a pay increase or otherwise find yourself with some spare money you're thinking about investing, perhaps you've made a profit from selling your house or inherited some money from a family member, these are all good points at which to consider building up additional pension savings. There are two ways to do this within the LGPS. Firstly, additional voluntary contributions or AVCs, where you pay additional contributions to a third-party provider. If you're a member of the Cambridgeshire Pension Fund, this would be with Prudential. If you're a member of the Northamptonshire Pension Fund, this could either be Prudential or Standard Life. The contributions you pay into an AVC plan will then be invested on your behalf, and the value of your additional pension will depend on how those investments perform. Therefore, it's important to note that unlike your main LGPS build-up, the value of your AVC can go up or down, so you might not get out what you put in. However, you have some flexibility to choose how much you pay into an AVC plan and how to receive that payment when you retire. The other option is to buy extra LGPS pension through an additional pension contribution, or APCs for short. Here, you can buy a set amount of extra pension that you'd like to receive each year on top of your normal LGPS build-up. The cost is based on how much pension you want to buy, and you can either pay a one-off lump sum or pay extra contributions each month. Once you've paid the required additional contributions, you're guaranteed to receive the extra amount every year for the rest of your life. To summarise the difference, with ABCs, you can choose how much you pay in and how you receive that pension when you retire, but you won't have absolute certainty over how much that additional pension will be worth. With an APC, you lose that flexibility, but you're guaranteed to get the extra amount of pension you paid for. More information about both options is available on our website. Of course, there are also other ways to build up additional savings outside of the LGPS, which you may want to consider. We always recommend you take independent financial advice before making any decision to invest extra money for your retirement. Those are the options for paying more towards your retirement if you want to, but how do you know if you're saving enough? The Pensions and Lifetime Savings Association have published some guidance on retirement living standards to give you an idea of how much retirement income you might need. It's definitely worth having a read and seeing how your pension savings compare. For context, the average amount of pension payment a person gets from the LGPS is currently just over £5,000 a year. Alongside that, you can also check your annual benefit statement or use the calculators within your online pension account to see how much your pension is likely to be worth when you retire. In video 4 of this series, I show you how to use those calculators. Another change that could either be planned or unplanned is a change in job. That could be an internal move with the same employer, meaning you're staying with the LGPS, or you might be moving employer completely and will stop paying into the scheme for now. Under the regulations for the scheme, for every job you're an active member, a new pension record is created. So even if you're staying with your employer, you'll have a decision to make over what will happen with your benefits. Combining your previous pension benefits with your new benefits makes sure everything is all in one place and will be paid together in all circumstances, which is important if you later become too ill to work or are made redundant. If your pension becomes payable in either of those circumstances, you'll only receive payment from the combined record you're paying into at that time, and this is the same for the death benefits paid to your loved ones if you passed away. However, if you want some flexibility to take different parts of your pension at different times, or if your pay reduces in your new job, you may want to consider keeping your records separate. There's information available on our website about what you'd need to consider in that situation. If you're leaving the LGPS, you'll need to consider either transferring your pension elsewhere, or you may leave it deferred until you make a later decision. It's important to weigh up what benefits you might lose if you transfer your benefits out of the scheme, such as the protections you'd receive, even when you're no longer paying in. So the examples we've talked about so far are all generally positive changes that might happen in your life, but your pension isn't only there for the good times, it's also there to help in harder times. No one really likes to talk about these things, but it's good to be aware of how your pension can help if your pay is reduced, you're made redundant, become too ill to work, or in the worst case scenario, die in service. The good news is, as I've already mentioned, there are protections in place that might apply to you in these circumstances. Firstly, there's some pay protections that automatically apply if you have a drop in your rate of pay, where any final salary benefits you've built up prior to April 2014 will be calculated on your best final salary over the last 3 years of your employment, or further back if you contact us. If you joined the scheme after April 2014, any reductions in pay will only affect your future benefit build-up. It won't affect the pension you've already built up. If you become permanently incapable of doing your current job due to ill health, you may also be entitled to an ill health pension. This will be assessed by your employer with guidance from an independent medical doctor, and there will be 3 tiers of benefits which might be payable. If you're deemed unable to return to work before your normal pension age in any gainful employment, which is considered as 30 hours a week for at least 12 months, you might get a pension paid at its full value, enhanced up to your normal retirement age. If you're deemed capable of undertaking gainful employment before your normal pension age, you may receive a partially enhanced pension. And lastly, if it's deemed that you'll be capable of undertaking gainful employment within the next 3 years, then you may receive a temporary pension over the period you're left unable to work. In the worst case scenario, if a member of staff were to die in service, there would be a survivor's pension, which would be due immediately to any surviving spouse, registered civil partner, or cohabiting partner, as long as that person meets the relevant criteria. Hence why we've said it's so important to keep us informed on any changes with your and personal details. In some cases, a children's pension might also be payable if that child meets the relevant criteria. As well as the dependents' pensions, there's also a lump sum death grant, which can be paid to whomever you nominate. We've had instances, for example, where charities have been chosen or it may be split across a number of people. The lump sum itself is paid tax-free and is worth 3 times the annual salary for an active member. The calculation of the lump sum does differ slightly if you leave the scheme or if you're at a pensioner status, and the member would need to be under 75 at the date of death. It's important you update us of your nominees, as the decision as to whom a death grant is payable is at the discretion of the administering authority, and that decision is made taking into account the facts of the case and any expressed wishes of the deceased. The fourth video in this series shows you how you can easily amend your nominations via your online pension accounts. There are also some protections if you're at risk of or considering voluntary redundancy later in your career. If you're over 55 at the time of redundancy, then you'll not have a choice and the pension will be paid immediately. However, the protection is that the pension will be paid to you at its full value without any of the usual reductions that would be applied for an early retirement, assuming you're before your normal pension age. If you're under 55, the pension would be deferred. You can either leave the pension where it is until you reach at least 55, which is the earliest retirement age, or you can elect to transfer the benefits elsewhere. If you later come back into the scheme, generally your benefits would be automatically combined. And lastly, if you have under 2 years LGPS service, when you leave the scheme, you'll be offered a refund of the contributions you paid, less tax. That's the end of the second video in this series. For things you need to think later in your career, please watch video 3. If you've just started your career, then please refer to video 1. To help activating your online pension account, watch video 4. We hope you enjoy these videos and find them helpful, but please remember that they're only designed to give you a flavour of the things you need to think about and don't cover all situations or provide full detail. If you'd like to know more information about any of the topics covered, or there's a topic you're interested in that is not covered, more information is available on the website shown on screen. Thank you for listening.